On this show, we go over all the possible spiritual states that a person goes through on his spiritual journey. And today we'd like to talk about the resolution of doubts. So, in line with our short explanations of spiritual states, their ways of research and development, the way we perceive these states, we need to explain altogether how does the wisdom of Kabbalah react to contradictions, and how does it allow to balance them out. The thing is that throughout life we encounter many contradictions, starting with different physical influences like heat, cold, pressure, vacuum, etc., through different physical parameters, through emotional parameters like hate, love, joy, despair, etc., etc. How do we balance these states out in a way that they won't exist in us in alteration, but that they'll be able to exist in general harmony, so that we'll perceive these states at the same time, even though that it seems to us impossible? So the wisdom of Kabbalah that talks about it having to bring man to a state of perfection. So there can't be perfection when it exists only in one state, and in the other state, what you feel is complete lack of perfection. The very opposite. There can't be perfection in a state of despair, and there can't be perfection in a state of joy and happiness, if in its stead will come a state of despair. So here, there's need for a completely different approach and resolution to the problem, and this is what the wisdom of Kabbalah is engaged in. In general, it sees its resolution, its mission, in that all of man's qualities, all of his states, to collect them all together and to give it all one whole and complete answer. And this answer is called rising above our states, above the good, above the bad, above all that happens in between them, when in no way they can connect between them, reconcile these two opposite states between them on any level, emotionally, in understanding, etc., etc. It happens when a person rises from his egoistic state to a realm that's so-called faith above reason, meaning when he starts working with his qualities in the direction of bestowal and not in the direction of reception. If a person inverts and inversely works with all of his sensations, then what happens is that he starts perceiving everything as utter good, and to the contrary, in the measure to which these sensations, feelings, understandings, revelations are in contradiction with one another. It's not like in physics or in our life and the different states between us and our relations with one another that appear contradictions and we don't know what to do about them, that in the best case scenario we try to find some kind of a happy middle. There's no happy middle in the wisdom of Kabbalah. The wisdom of Kabbalah thinks that it's a flawed action altogether, where on the one side and on the other we simply restrict ourselves, not thinking that we can't do anything, simply giving up, and agreeing to something intermediate. It's not the intermediate that we need to choose, but we need to choose the maximum of both. But when we rise above our ego, then these two opposite systems, sensations, attainments, they become one whole, because the one turns into desire and the other turns into fulfillment. And then what we get is a very clear feeling, sensation, that this way it's possible to come to any decision, resolve any conflicts, and exactly this is the method of how to bring the world to a perfect state of perfection. So in our world there are two states. I'm either in happiness or in hate. It's either hot or cold. Hot or cold, it's also in relation to man. Here, what it talks about is even two physical parameters that might have nothing to do with man altogether. And still, they're brought by man to a state where they complete each other, that the one can't exist without the other, and therefore only their connection between them is perfection. And they create a third state then. Right, none of them in and of itself, but both of them together. Can you give an example? For example, if we go through very difficult states of suffering, and then we understand that thanks to them, we come to a state of happiness, fulfillment, pleasure, etc. But it doesn't happen at the same time. Right, not at the same time. At the same time, it's possible only once we start acknowledging, grasping spiritual qualities. How does it work? Suppose there's a Kabbalist, lives his life, and like any ordinary person, he gets some kind of problem. Kabbalah allows us to feel at the same time sweetness and bitterness, happiness and sadness, sorrow, at the same time. And therefore, there we can feel the connection between these two opposite qualities, and therefore Kabbalah gives us a sensation which is 620 times greater than in our world, because in our world we can only feel the one and then the other. We can feel the one on the background of the other, but it's not at the same time. But Kabbalah, this is exactly what it allows us to do, to draw to yourself both the bad and the good states at the same time, to perceive them at the same time, to connect them with one another at the same time, and therefore to sense, feel the state of good much more vividly. And not only good states, but also states where we suppose attain some kind of physical phenomenon, then if in our world you can't perceive it, because suppose we can't exist in two places at the same time, we can't at the same time agree with plus and minus, we get impossible combinations like it usually is in quantum physics and other paradoxes. So the wisdom of Kabbalah allows to resolve all of this. Suppose the mother punishes her child, he understands that she does it for his sake, meaning at the same time. The thing is that with the child it's not exactly the right example, because a person who wishes to go in faith above reason, he attracts the positive and negative qualities equally. He understands that only in the combination between them can they be correctly revealed and give him a full measure of sensation and attainment. So Kabbalists aren't afraid of problems. For a Kabbalist, the task is to correctly connect the positive and negative qualities, and that's it. He understands that there's nothing negative in nature, and it's felt as something negative since it hasn't yet connected with a positive. You said that the resolution of opposites is the greatest pleasure in the world. True, so it says in Hebrew, means that there's no greater pleasure than the resolution of contradictions. Why? Because contradictions, opposites, is a state where you can't resolve anything. You're like squeezed in a vice. You don't know where's the truth, what's a lie, how to act, how to behave, but you must resolve this contradiction. And then, when it is resolved, then it's felt as the greatest pleasure. And where's the Creator in this picture? When a person asks the Creator to help him resolve this contradiction, then what follows is that at the same time, man attains the Creator in the resolution of this contradiction. This is what all contradictions are given to us for. These contradictive states are put into nature on purpose in order for us to reach such a state where we need their common source, which is the Creator, and then we turn to Him to resolve these contradictions.